Have you ever finished a book, closed it and thought, wow, that was amazing? You felt inspired, motivated, maybe even ready to change your life. But then a few days go by. A week passes. And nothing really changes. You go back to your old routines. You forget what you read. You remember how the book made you feel, but not what you were supposed to do with it. Sound familiar? If that's happened to you down as always in the town of Hampi, don't worry, you're not the only one. In fact, most people do the same thing. We read the right books but in the wrong way. We treat reading like a race. We rush through chapters, highlight some quotes, maybe share something on social media, and then move on to the next book. But here's the truth. Reading isn't the goal. Results are. If you're not changing how you think, feel, or act after reading a book, you're just collecting ideas, not using them. That's why today, I want to show you something different. A better way to read them. A way that actually helps you grow. Not just in your mind, but in your actions. Because reading is only the first step. What really matters is what you do with what you read. So if you've ever wondered how to make books truly impact your life, you're in the right place. So now that we understand reading is just the first step, let's take a closer look at something most people don't even realize is happening. Fake progress. Let me ask you a simple question. How many books did you read last year? Now think, how many of those actually changed something in your life? Did they change your habits? Did they help you improve your work or your relationships? Did they lead to more focus, more peace, or more income? If your answer is not really, you're not alone. The average adult reads about 4 books a year, and some self-help lovers, they go even further, 10, 20, 50 books. It sounds impressive, right? But here's the shocking truth. Only 1 out of 10 people actually apply what they read. Most of us are just collecting information without ever doing anything with it. Reading feels productive. It feels good. But often, it becomes a way to avoid taking action. We tell ourselves, let me read 1 more book, then I'll start. I just need more clarity before I take the next step. But the real clarity comes from doing, not just reading. Let me tell you a real story. My friend Sarah is super organized. Last year, she read 12 books on time management and productivity. She had a notebook full of quotes, sticky notes, and color-coded highlights. But when I asked her, how has your day-to-day life actually changed? She paused, looked down, and said, honestly, it hasn't. I'm still overwhelmed. I know what to do. I'm just not doing it. That's the trap. She was consuming ideas, but not transforming her life. The problem is in the books. Books are powerful, but it's how we read them, and what we do after Hampi, that makes the difference. So now that we understand reading for action is key, let's talk about how most people read the wrong way. Here's what typically happens. First, people pick up a book. They read it cover to cover, thinking that's enough. They highlight a few quotes here and there, maybe snap a picture of the page and post it on Instagram. They feel good about it, but then, they close the book, put it on the shelf, and move on to the next one. Does this sound familiar to you? You're not alone. That's reading for entertainment, not for real change. It's like going to the gym, watching others work out, and thinking, wow, I'm in the zone today. But you didn't lift a single weight. You didn't actually do the work. You were there, but you didn't grow. This is exactly what happens when you read without applying what you've learned. Sure, you've consumed information, but the knowledge hasn't changed your life. And even worse, you end up feeling like you're always learning, but never really progressing. Real life example. I know someone who's read dozens of books on productivity. She even has a whole bookshelf of them. But when it comes to actually improving her time management or getting more focused, she's still stuck. She says, I know what I should be doing. I just don't. She's been reading for entertainment, not action. Just like watching others work out loud, she's been collecting information but not putting it into practice. So now that we've seen what not to do when reading, let's talk about how to turn things around. Let's flip the whole idea. What if every time you read a book, it actually planted a seed in your life? Not just a good feeling, not just a few quotes, but a small powerful change, like a new habit, a better mindset, or a smarter way to handle a challenge. That's what reading for action is all about. It's not about how many books you finish, Vouds. It's about how many books actually finish their work in you. Too often we treat reading like a race. We're in a hurry to get to the last page so we can say, I finished it. But let me ask you what's more important, finishing the book or actually changing your life? Here's the mindset shift you need to make. Don't read to finish. Read to change. That small change in thinking can make a huge difference. It turns reading into something active, not passive. It turns a book into a tool, not just a source of entertainment. Before you even open a book, ask yourself, what do I want to get out of this? What am I hoping to change or improve? And while you're reading, keep coming back to one powerful question. What will I do with this? If you can answer that to so tall even just once per book, you're already ahead of most people. Because now you're not just reading for fun. You're reading to transform. So now that you're ready to read for transformation, not just information let me show you how. Here's a simple system. Just 5 steps. It's clear, it's practical, and most importantly, it works. Let's start with step 1. Choose with intention. This might sound obvious, but it's where most people go wrong. We often pick books just because they're trending. A friend recommended it. It's all over social media. It has 10,000 reviews. But that's not always the right book for you. Instead of reading what's popular, start reading what's personal. Read based on what you actually need right now in your life. Ask yourself, what am I trying to solve? What area of my life do I want to improve today, not someday? Let's say you're struggling to focus at work. Don't read a book on creativity. Read something like Deep Work by Cal Newport or books about digital minimalism. If you're trying to start a side hustle, don't read a general motivation book. Pick up something practical, like $100 Startup or a beginner's guide to freelancing or marketing. If you're feeling stuck emotionally, maybe now's the time to read about mindset, healing, or confidence. Reading with intention means reading with a goal. You're not just looking for entertainment or escape routes. You're looking for tools, for answers, for growth. This one shift, choosing books based on your current problem or goal, can instantly make your reading more powerful and more useful. It means every book you open is working for you, not just sitting on your shelf. So now that you've chosen the right book with intention, the kind that solves a real problem in your life, it's time for step 2 of the Read for Action system. Step 2, read slow, not fast. Let me say this upfront. Reading is not a race. You don't get a medal for finishing the most books in the shortest time. You win by using what's inside the book slow, not by adding them to a list of books I've read. Here's the hook you need to remember. It's better to read 1 page and change your life than 300 pages and change nothing. Let that sink in. So many people rush through books. They try to finish fast so they can move on to the next one. But when you do that, you miss the good stuff. You don't give your brain or your heart time to digest the message. Think about it like food. If you eat too fast, you don't enjoy the meal. Worse, so body doesn't even absorb it well. You end up feeling bloated, tired, and unsatisfied. Reading works the same way. Instead, read slowly. Pause often. When something hits you, stop. Think about it. Reflect. Ask yourself, how does this apply to my life right now? What can I do with this idea today? And if a chapter is really powerful, don't be afraid to reread it. Highlight the lines that hit you. Write a quick note in the margin. Even one strong idea, when absorbed properly, can shift the way you think and act. So remember, the goal isn't to finish the book. The goal is to let the book finish its work in you. Once you start reading slower and deeper, you're no longer just a reader, a grower. So once you've slowed down and really felt the message of the book, it's time to move to step 3 of the Read for Action system. This step is where a lot of people fall into a trap. And it's a trap that feels productive but often leads nowhere. Step 3. Take notes for action, not just memory. Let's be honest, we all love to highlight quotes. Those beautiful lines that make us stop and go, wow, that's deep. But here's the thing. Just underlining a sentence doesn't change your life. What changes your life is what you do with that sentence. So don't just take notes to remember the words. Take notes to help you act on the ideas. Here's a simple way to do it. As you're reading, pause and write down. What is the key idea here? How does this apply to my life? What's one small thing I'll try this week based on this? That last question is powerful. It turns knowledge into a plan. Let me give you an example from my own life. When I read Atomic Habits by James Clear, there were tons of great tips in there. I could have just highlighted them and moved on, but I didn't. I picked one small action. Put my gym clothes by the bed every night. That's it. One tiny change. But guess what? That one step made it easier for me to work out in the morning. And that turned into a habits one that's now part of my daily life. That's the power of notes that lead to action. So next time you read, don't just collect quotes. Create a playbook, a list of real steps you can try, test, and live out. Once you start taking notes this way, books stop being just interesting. They start becoming tools for transformation. So once you started taking notes that focus on action, it's time for step 4. And this is the part that separates readers from real changemakers. Step 4. Apply immediately. Let's keep it real. Knowledge is not power. It's potential power. Nothing happens until you actually do something with what you learn. And here's the mistake many people make. They wait until they finish the entire book before trying anything. They want to understand everything before taking the first step. But that's backwards. You don't need to master every concept to get started. You just need to take one idea in and try it. So here's your key question for this step. What's one idea I can try in the next 24 hours? That's it. One action. Not next week. Not next month. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say you're reading a book about time management and you come across a simple tip like, plan your next day the night before. Don't just highlight it and keep reading. Tonight, pull out a sticky note and plan tomorrow. It might take 5 minutes, but that small move could change how your day flows. That's applying immediately. Even before the book is over, you're already seeing results. You're turning ideas into motion. And motion creates momentum. This step is all about building the habit of action. It shows your brain, hey, we don't just read, nay, we live what we learn. And here's the cool part. When you apply something right away, you remember it better. You feel more confident, and you get excited to keep going. So don't wait. Pick one simple thing and do it now, because that's where the real learning begins. So now you've applied something from the book right away. That's amazing progress. But we're not done yet. Let's finish strong with step 5 of the Read for Action system. Step 5. Review and reflect. When you finish a book, don't just close it and forget about it. Take 10 minutes to think about what you learned and how it affected you. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. What did I learn? What actually worked for me? What will I keep doing going forward? Write down your answers. You don't need to write a book. 1 page, that's enough. You can keep a special reading journal or just use the Notes app on your phone. The idea is to create a simple record of what each book actually did for you. This makes a big difference. One real story I love. There's a YouTuber I follow who calls his journal the Book of Change. For every book he reads, he writes down 1 page about how that book changed his life. After reading about 30 books, he ended up with his own personal manual for growth, a guide built from his own experience. Imagine having your own book of change. A place where all your best lessons and actions live net, ready for you anytime you need a boost or a reminder. Reviewing helps you remember what worked, so you don't lose those good habits. Reflecting also helps you see your progress seal, which keeps you motivated to keep growing. So after you finish a book, take a moment, write it down. Make the learning stick. And that's the full Read for Action system. 5 simple steps to turn reading from a hobby into real lasting change. If you found this helpful so far, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more practical tips that actually help you grow. Ready to start reading differently? Let me know what book you're going to apply this to next. Now that you've learned how to read with purpose, apply what you learn, and reflect on your progress, there's one last thing that will make all the difference. Most people say, I want to read more books. That's a good goal, but it's missing something important. Instead of just wanting to read more, start saying to yourself, I'm the kind of person who learns and applies ideas. Every book I read makes my life better, in some way. This is a small but powerful mindset shift. When you see yourself this way, reading stops being just a hobby or entertainment. It becomes a tool for growth, a way to build a better life. Think about it. Books are not just pretty decorations on your shelf. They're not there only to entertain you for a few hours. They're blueprints, plans for building something meaningful in your life. But here's the catch. You can have the best blueprint in the world. But if you don't build the house, it stays just a piece of paper. The same goes for books. You have to use the ideas inside. You have to put them into action. You have to build your own version of success, happiness, or whatever you want. So when you say, I'm the kind of person who learns and applies ideas, you're telling yourself you're not just a reader, you're a doer, a builder, a changer. And that identity makes all the difference. It pushes you to take small steps every day, to keep learning, keep trying, and keep growing. Remember, reading is just the first step. What really matters is what you do next. Now that you've started to see yourself as someone who learns and applies from books, there's one more important mindset shift to make. Here's a truth that might surprise you. If you read one book and change one thing and that change sticks out, you are already ahead of 95% of readers. Yes, really. It's easy to feel like you need to read 10, 20 or even 50 books a year to be successful. Social media and success gurus can make it feel like a numbers game. But the number of books you read doesn't matter nearly as much as what you actually do with them. It's not about how many books you finish, it's about how many ideas you live by. You don't need to rush through dozens of books just to say I read a lot. What you really need is one idea that sticks. One small change that makes a real difference in your life. When that happens, reading stops being a chore or a race. It becomes a meaningful process that moves you forward. So here's what I want you to do. Let go of the pressure to read more. Let go of comparing yourself to others who finish 50 books a year. Instead, focus on reading better. Read with purpose. Read slowly. Read to change. Remember, it's better to have one powerful idea that transforms your life than 100 ideas you forget the moment you close the book. When you change your definition of success like this, reading becomes less stressful and much more rewarding. So what's the one idea from your next book that you want to live by? Drop it in the comments below. Now that you've learned to focus on one powerful idea and read with purpose, there's a simple habit you can use every time you pick up a book. Reading can feel overwhelming if you just scan words without thinking. But here's a simple way to make any book work for you. Pause often and ask yourself 3 key questions. 1. What am I learning right now? This question helps you pay attention to the most important idea on the page. It stops you from just skimming and makes you slow down to understand. 2. How does this apply to my life? Ideas in books can sometimes feel far away or hard to connect with. This question brings the lesson home. You start thinking, how can this help me right now? In my work, my relationships, my habits. 3. What will I do with it today? This is the most important question. It pushes you from just thinking about ideas to actually doing something with them. Even if it's a tiny step, that action is what makes reading powerful. Here's why these questions matter so much. They turn any book into a personal coach, a guide that helps you grow and improve. Instead of just reading for fun or passing time, you read to get better. When you practice these questions regularly, reading becomes a tool for real change. You'll notice yourself not just learning, but applying and growing every day. So next time you open a book, try this out. Ask yourself these 3 questions as you read, and watch how your reading turns into results. You're doing great so far. Asking the right questions while reading really helps. Now let me share a few bonus tips to make sure what you learn sticks and turns into real change. Bonus tips for real-life readers. 1. Turn notes into reminders. Don't just write down ideas and forget them. Put those action steps into your to-do list or calendar. For example, if you decided to wake up 30 minutes earlier, set a daily alarm or reminder. This way, your phone or planner helps you remember and stay on track. 2. Teach what you read. One of the best ways to remember something is to teach it to someone else. Share your new idea with a friend, make a quick video, or write a simple blog post. Explaining it out loud or in writing helps your brain lock the knowledge in deeply. 3. Reread great books. When you read a book a second time, especially after trying some actions, it feels different. You notice new ideas, and things make more sense because you're experiencing them. So don't be afraid to revisit your favorites. 4. Use sticky notes for actions, not just quotes. Instead of marking pretty sentences, stick notes where you find actionable advice. This helps you quickly find the steps you want to try without flipping through the whole book again. 5. Don't finish bad books. If a book isn't useful or interesting, don't force yourself to finish it. Your time is precious. Stop and pick something better that really helps you grow. These little habits can make a big difference. They help you turn reading from a passive activity into a powerful tool for real-life success. You've learned great tips for reading better, asking the right questions, and turning ideas into action. Now here's an important final reminder. Reading is powerful. It opens your mind, gives you new ideas, and shows you new paths. But reading alone is only the first step. Think of it like getting directions before a trip. The book is your map and it shows you where to go and the best routes. But the map itself won't get you anywhere unless you walk the path. If you just keep reading without taking action, you're like a traveler who studies a map but never leaves home. You have the knowledge, but not the progress. So remember, books give you the tools, but it's up to you to use them. You have to take the steps, make the changes, and keep moving forward. Every small action counts. Every new habit, every mindset shift, every change you make moves you closer to the life you want. Reading starts the journey. Action completes it. Before you go, every book you read is like having a conversation with someone smarter, wiser, or more experienced than you. It could be an expert, a mentor, or even someone who has lived through challenges you want to overcome. But here's the important part. That conversation only matters if it changes you, if it makes you think differently, act differently, or live better. So the next time you pick up a book, don't just rush to finish it as fast as possible. Don't ask, how quickly can I get through this? Instead, ask yourself, how will this book make me better? What can I learn here that will help me grow? When you change your focus from speed to meaning, reading becomes more than just a pastime. It becomes a powerful tool for change. Remember, the goal is not to finish books quickly, but to let the books finish with you FOMPy, meaning to let them shape who you are and what you do. Now that you know how to make every book really count, here's what you can do next. If this video helped you rethink how you read, please hit that like button. See, it helps more people find this important message. If you want more helpful content about reading strategies, mindset, and habits, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. And I'd love to hear from you. In the comments, tell me, what's one book that actually changed your life and how? Let's build a reading list that really works for all of us. Thank you so much for watching. Now go read something and make it count.